Unison, remember? Well, Professor Bernard Hoffman invited me over here, and I got that call, or should I say I was approached, like in October or November of last year. And I said, would you be willing to come over to Freiburg and do, vocal clinics, like you usually do? I said, of course. The most important thing is to realize about gospel, especially singing gospel, is that the technique is pretty much, I wouldn't say pretty much, it's all the same, even if you do classical or pop. If you don't practice proper technique, just like I was saying with the choir earlier, subtle movements of the various muscles that enables the vocal apparatus to project the sound so that you won't hurt the vocal cords themselves, trying to get volume out of the vocal cords. And the vocal cords already have their set volume by default, so the rest is facial muscles, muscles in the neck area, of course the diaphragm as well. But working, the upper muscles in the head area, nasal cavity, soft palate, the back of the tongue, and what I do in my lessons, I have the student to realize that in order to project the sound, you have to, practice proper palate posture, meaning soft palate posture that's in the back of the mouth, which actually moves, so when that arcs up, then you concave the tongue up under it in the back so that it can project the sound and bring it to the front of the face, and that's also with filling the cheeks with sound as well. And I know that the cheeks of the face is something that every human being takes for granted. Because we use them every day for talking, we never really think about using them for singing. When you talk about gospel, the definition of gospel is called good news, and good news is one of the aspects of gospel that enables the human spirit to get energized, and to get, it's almost like a power surge, to energize the spirit itself. I did not cut you off. Thank you. You have to watch to see if I Can we just try holding the last You ready? 1, 2, and go. Closed harmonies, give the actual chord more body, more beef. The open harmonies, which is what we mainly been doing, it just, gives the chord itself. But what makes it not boring is the fact that these harmonies are actually moving. In the case of the Davis sisters, the harmonies, it was sometimes more stationary, which allowed them more time to use closed harmonies, because when you get into the part of, utilizing closed harmony to an extent or to an extreme, then, the audience, it sounds nice, but, it's almost like, where are you going with this? So when the Davis sisters, they paved the way, and like I mentioned yesterday in the workshops, unfortunately, the Davis sisters have, the way they left out of here was very sad. All of them, died very sad, horrible deaths, and it makes you wonder why, why, even God even allowed that to happen. The Lord is blessing me right now, Lord, right now. The Lord is blessing me right now, Lord, right now. Okay, now I'm hearing you all very well. Altos, if you can give me a little bit more volume, because keep in mind, I see some of you're still doing the Lord. No, the Lord, 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 Lord. 1, 2, altos by yourself. The Lord is blessing me. Much better. It's a lot better. When I started Berklee, it was $4,000 a semester. And that's very, very cheap compared to what it is now, Altogether, after I finished the 5 years, I could have finished in 4, but I caught myself doing the music ed and performance. And in my latter semester, once I found out I had to do this whole crop of performance proficiencies, and I'd already finished the required proficiencies for the music ed degree, I just dropped the performance degree and just graduated as music ed. Altogether, I would say it was like 30,000, total in my 5 years there, which unfortunately is one semester now at Berklee. Yeah, students one semester, current students one semester is my whole 5 years there at Berklee. Let's try it one more time. It's going to come together. It's going to come together. 1. Nobody like you, Lord, is real easy. So you go, oh, this is walk in the park. Yes, it is. But this is a little bit more challenging. But I need you to, and don't stagger the rhythm. You're starting to stagger the rhythm a little too delayed. Keep in mind, the Lord is blessing me. Some of you doing like blessing me. No, don't stagger it like that. It's like the Lord is blessing me right now. Oh, right now. See? So kind of speed the blessing me a little bit, speed the blessing me up a little more. Okay? Here we go. Ready and the Lord is blessing me right now, right now. The Lord is blessing me right now, right now. My mother was the classical, traditional type of reader. Reading, she could read anything, sight read anything, and just as long as, it printed. And she had a good ear as well. But my father already had good ears, because on both sides of his family, music existed. His father was a dynamic singer, and his mother was a piano player, just pretty much by hobby, not a serious piano player, but just by hobby. what she would play for like Sunday school at church, or, like they had this thing called Baptist Training Union, which is like a afternoon Sunday school, and she would play for those type of things, which is like, reading hymns and stuff like that. See how slow you did that? Speed it up. It's blessing me. Speed it up. The Lord is blessing me. Yeah. Don't blessing me. Don't slow it down like that. I didn't say that staggered. Here we go. 1, 2, everybody. Then the Lord is blessing me. Yes, yes, yes. Right now. Verse. I had several teachers. One teacher, his name, I can't remember his first name. His last name was Pearson. And he's the one who found out about me having, perfect pitch, because he would play the piano. This was the attempt of my parents getting me to learn how to read, because even before reading music, my ears were already at a level where anything I hear, I could just like play it, it didn't matter. And what he would do, Mr. Pearson would turn my face to the wall, and he would hit various notes on the piano, and I would name them, including the octave in which they were in. If there was a chord, I would name each note of the chord, and I would even tell what chord it was, C chord or what have you. This is like at age 7. I started playing at age 4. The teacher after him was a lady by the name of Cappy Corey. And she brought out most of the reading, part, in me, because she already was aware of my ears, but she didn't play the song for me. She would make me sit there and actually figure it out and read it, which is the main objective of my parents. And I would say the other teachers would occur in elementary school, Loretta Crowder, as well as Judy Jones, and Margaret Hall in junior high school, which forced me, again, learning how to read, because she was already aware of my musical ability as well. And when I got to high school, the reading factor, it was already there, so I just simply finished, or should I say continued, to build upon what other teachers have already started. Yes, and so you have those fluffy cheeks like me. See, so again, you have those fluffy cheeks. Here we go. Right now. Okay. Right now. The Lord is blessing me.
I have a question.
Yes.
And it's not always the same kind of tension.
Exactly. Notice I said subtle movements. It means it can move in a way to actually push the sound more forward, so it will sound louder.
So you put the more tension on the parts that you want to be.
Exactly.
Okay.
Does that make sense? She nailed it right there. All right, your turn.
Yeah, my turn.
She nailed it right there.
Right now.
The Lord is blessing me. No problem. Well, the whole country of Germany is just so historical to me, and it's a beautiful place, number one, a lot of good sights, a lot of good food. I have to factor in that food. Quality food, may I add. As well as great talent here in Germany, not only here at the school, but just in Germany, period. It's a whole host of, plethora of talent, here that's, in my opinion, that deserves to be tapped into. you have that capability to, if you really look at my face, the Lord, I'm utilizing everything. You see, if you see my cheeks, I'm filling up not only with air, but also with sound, which enables it to what? Bring it to the front. So I can do it, the Lord, or the Lord. See, I'm still filling it up with air, with sound, but not as much, because I'm not trying to yell it at you. But if I was, the Lord, see, that's like yelling at, actually, I'm really not hurting myself because that's within my range. Am I making sense there? You know, so again, watch my face. The Lord, as opposed to the Lord, it still carries. Well, back then, you know, Shreveport it was more of a community type of thing when I was younger, growing up there. And parents really stressed the importance of education and getting a good education. Not so much as getting a good job when you finish, but just so that you can survive, period. You know, doing well in public schools, and hopefully in hopes that, you know, their son or their daughter would go ahead and take the next step and commence their collegiate years. And that's what I did. And I had parents that were very, very supportive. Unfortunately, nowadays, especially if you're referring to nowadays, you know, the attention that I got from my parents, a lot of kids are not getting these days, you know, which constitutes, crime, then drugs, and even suicides. It constitutes a lot of negative stuff, you know, mainly because, you know, parents, unfortunately, I would say, have slacked a little bit, you know, for whatever reason there might be. You know, my personal opinion, you get a good education, you know, finish college, you know, you play your cards right in college, and I say this to my students in Berklee, you play your cards right, you won't have to go walking to the job will come to you. Yes, I did do some gigs, and I played for a church when I was a student, and the name of that church was 12th Baptist Church. It dates back into the earlier days of the first African meeting house down in Beacon Hill. And 12th Baptist Church is one of the direct descendants from the first African meeting house. People such as even Martin Luther King, when he was a student at Boston University, attended 12th Baptist Church. Let's see, at that time I was doing $75 a Sunday, you know, because at that time Berklee was a lot cheaper, and the cost of living even in New England was a lot cheaper. You know, other things I would do might, you know, constitute like 100, 150. Like, keep in mind, we're talking about the decade of like 1980s, you know, so things were a lot cheaper, so therefore I didn't have to charge too much for services rendered. I guess if I didn't really be so focused at Berklee, I would really go crazy, to be honest with you. You know, I depend, just like Berklee depend on me, I depend on them too. I ain't gonna sit here and lie about it, because, you know, before I met the missus, my only other wife was Berklee. You get what I'm saying? So I have to really keep, you know, Berklee up running, in a positive way, so that I can continue to empower the students. The gospel choir itself is almost as old as the school, because the gospel choir started in 78, 79. So right now the gospel choir is like close to 40 years old, and the school is maybe like 70. It's like 30 years younger than the school itself, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, that's probably one of the only ensembles that has, held its consistency and integrity for that length of time. When it started, it was just an extracurricular activity. And it was started by a young lady named of Lisa Harrigan, who still, she's in New York right now. And after Lisa, then the other student director was David Chandler. And while he was still student director, that's when they were priming me to be student director. And when I became student director in the fall of 84, the fall of 84, that's when gospel choir became a part of the curriculum itself. And it became a two credit class, because it meets twice a week. The future is to keep doing what I'm doing, and to keep empowering the lives of musical students like here at the school, as well as to even empower myself, because my brain is like a sponge. I believe in, keeping reaching for higher, heights in knowledge, especially musical knowledge. I've always welcomed musical challenges, always. You can ask any of my students. Even if the challenge gives me a run for my money, I will still give it my best shot, So I could, I would probably even say writing a book as well, which I have to stop procrastinating on and get to work on it, a book of my memoirs and life, even personal experiences, and to empower somebody else's life as well, even through my teaching or even through my book that hopefully I will write one of these days.